Certainly men are not going to be clamoring to have a relationship with somebody when there's the market is throwing them.
A man's response to your actions is what defines your worth, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I would say that I would argue that what makes women actually happy is family. So
what's going on, y'all? This your boy MC.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Be the Ruckus here.
Alec, let's rock and roll.
That's right. And this is Word and Culture Podcast, and we got another video for the day. Candace Owens, you guys probably heard of her. She's always in the news as of late. She has been going a little crazy on Israel, but hey, listen,
just Israel.
Yeah,
she's unloading the clip on everybody, bro.
Ooh, but let me tell you something, man. She does make great content.
Yeah,
you know, her podcast is actually one of the top in the world. I think she's top 10.
She has more balls than most men today.
Yeah, she's a sniper. Yeah.
I ain't say he did. Anyways, if you haven't done it yet, man, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, and also give this video a thumbs up so we could be all up in your algorithms. All right, so let's get into this clip.
Let's go.
It's not tied to, well, absolutely. If you're going to be having multiple partners, you are going to be devaluing yourself.
You're worth less as a human being.
Not as a human being, just, in terms of trying to have a partnership and a productive relationship. Certainly men are not going to be clamoring to have a relationship with somebody when there's the market is throwing them.
A man's response to your actions is what defines your worth, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I would say that I would argue that what makes women actually happy is family. So if you're interrupting, so just to connect the dots for you, when women are having sex with multiple partners, it devalues them for men, right?
For men. So,
yes. So
men define a woman's worth.
Well, I would say both of them kind of define one another's worth, because I think the ultimate goal for people to be happy is actually family.
Okay.
Well, she said men define women's worth, and then Candace Owens responded, no, they both define each other's worth. They're both wrong, because neither nor define each other's worth. The only person that defines their worth is God.
Yeah.
And God's law is there.
Yeah.
And God doesn't want you sleeping around with different people. Now, I know there's people out there that probably say, oh, but what if I'm not a Christian? What if I don't believe in God? Who are you to demand, your laws upon me? Well, man, unfortunately, people have been believing this since the beginning of time.
True. But I think what she was getting at, though, was the intrinsic value. I think what you're getting as intrinsic value that God gives to human beings, right? Man and women.
Yeah.
Yes,
but there is a certain aspect of when we're speaking about the culture, the marketplace defines the value of something. So if something is very rare, there's a higher value to that product, right? And I'm not saying that human beings are products or anything, but that's just the law of the land, right?
Yeah.
So the higher the body count that a woman has, the lower the value that she is towards another man's eyes. If a man...
Would you agree with that?
I do agree with that. 1,000% I agree with that.
Yeah.
And also, because the thing is this, that a woman looks at a man's future, but and a man looks at a woman's past. So if a man doesn't have a direction...
Hey, that's I'm gonna tweet that.
You're gonna tweet that, but like I was saying though, the thing is that if a man is not going in a direction where he's actually producing something in life, the marketplace of the woman is gonna value that type of man, whether she wants to go ahead and court him or not. The status, money, and all that good stuff. Yeah, so it is what it is.
Now, would you say that it's the same for men? You think that women value a man who's had less partners the way men view it, or you think the game is different for each gender?
That's actually a tough question. Now, I want to be very careful when I say this, but because obviously I'm not a woman, right? None of us are.
You sure?
Man, I hope not.
I mean, I wouldn't know.
I identify as him, bro.
I'm him.
I'm him.
Anything's
possible in 2025, right?
I would say, bro, just to answer you quickly, I think that a woman does or might think that, but they don't emphasize it as much as men emphasize it upon women.
Yeah.
I might be wrong.
It's a sexual dynamics, right? Because the thing is that with women, it's a paternity issue at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because, a woman can only get pregnant once every 9 months. You know what I mean? So, and if she's sleeping around, you're not going to know who the father of that child is.
Yeah.
That's the issue when it comes down with women and the difference between women and men.
Yeah.
So, it's very interesting. I don't go around and saying also that, that a man should have a high body count either, because I think that's just perverseness. You know, I think there should be a level of discipline where a man should hold himself until he does meet the right woman that he's going to marry.
What about Solomon, man? Solomon had 700 wives.
I mean, he reacted in the flesh. He got judged by God by that.
That was also the old covenant.
Yeah, it was a little curveball.
I mean, and also the difference is that too, that men, the patriarchs, you know, when it came down with women in the past, was that they needed a sort of protection, a hedge of protection with them, right? Because the thing is, the only people that protected the women back then was either the husband, their sons, or the church. You know, because they were viewed as I guess lower status in those times. Yeah. So, but nowadays, people that want multiple women and multiple wives is mostly because of fleshly desires. They want to just bang the girl, lust and everything. If one of them is on her period, they want to go to the next one or whatever the case may be. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, God clearly in His Word states, right, like one man or one woman, right, they should be united together. No multiple partners, right? I think the Bible's clear about sex outside of marriage, right? It's sex with one partner and for life, right? But in our culture, I do think it's different, right? And I get from a man, right? Me, personally speaking, right? Like one of the reasons I married my wife, not the reason, not the main reason, but one of those factors was she had never been with a man before, right? In that way. And to me, that was attractive. As a man,
Facts.
Right?
Yeah.
What was attractive for her to me at the time was, you know, like I'm studying, right? I have plans, I have ambition, right? I'm gonna take her and our family and we're gonna build something together. She wasn't interested in, you know, she probably was, right? And you know, the level of my purity, which was not very good at that time, but like she was more interested in how can I provide for her? How can I protect her? Right? Those are more factors I think that she would agree that were more higher on her list. Also, you know, like commit to me too, right? Faithfulness is also part of that, right? Yeah. But you know, I think it's different gender to gender.
In all cases, a woman is going to be more fulfilled in regards to family. Like
that's exactly what I'm saying.
And this is going to work in all cases. So you're saying there's no individual case in which a woman can feel, you know, fulfilled without being tied to other people in the case of family?
I think there could be an exceptional case for everything. I think there are exceptional cases, but I think that if we all start trying to be the exception as opposed to recognizing the rule, which is that people in life are more fulfilled when they achieve a family unit and when they have children, women in particular, especially aspiring to children, then you are going to end up with a bunch of people who are unhappy because your job cannot replace the feeling of having a family.
So what you're saying is we need to look at every individual case and see what is going to fulfill you or what is going to, I guess, essentially predict your happiness more. Because if we look at, for example, the Nordic countries, right? These are countries, I'm talking about like Sweden, Denmark, right? These countries tend to be like, I think in the past 14 years, they've been ranked as the highest in happiness and marital satisfaction from women, right? And we see that they also have been the most open in regards to like, you know, sexual norms and you know, sexual roles, right? So, and we also see that there's less rates of like STDs reported. We see more, and that's also due to comprehensive sex education that's pushed in those countries. So we see that and that's like a direct result of the sexual revolution, right? So when we're seeing that direct reports of happiness, right, we don't have these same rates in America. In these countries that are more sexually open, why would we see like those rates in those type of countries?
So I think you might be referring to this sort of mass-produced study that was a part of like a behavioral science study, which said that women were the happiest women in the world were women that were actually unmarried and had careers. No. Okay. Well, there was
reported happiness.
Okay, sure. I'm talking about the same thing. It was reported happiness, but it could be there's tons of studies. The point being is that in 2023, there was this massive scandal where they recognize that a lot of these studies that were being produced, behavioral science, was proven to be a complete fraud. And they were unable to reproduce these studies, and they also found that the data had been faked. The data that we can look at that I think shows, and you can let me know if you agree with this, if women, and under the imagination of the feminist umbrella, were really unhappy when they were in the home, and then entering the workforce has made women happier and infinitely feeling more secure about themselves, we could, I think, reasonably expect that there would have been a decrease in suicide rates amongst women.
You would have to go ahead and show how that correlation, right, is going to be a direct cause of women going into the workforce.
Yo, She hit it with a live fact check.
Yeah,
Live fact check, bro. That was amazing. That was awesome.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's well, obviously, I mean, we could talk about the fraud and the report. But I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, I know what I think, right? Are we happier with a family but not a career, or a career but not a family, right? And I think we could think about that. And I think, all of us here have families, right?
Yeah.
And to me, I mean, I think my career would be meaningless if I didn't have my children and my wife.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct. Facts. Yeah.
Now, like, still, you're still working out your career. There's still for a man, right? You still have like that desire of purpose, right? Like there's something you're still striving for, right? Career wise, or you're still trying to find your niche. Like, why was I put on earth? But it's not like this big hole in your heart, right? Because you have a wife, you have your children, you have a home, you have food, you got money in the account, right? Like, you have really everything you need. Right now, you're just kind of being maybe a little picky, right?
Yeah.
But give me $1 million and I'm surrounded with people who don't know me. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I'm in a world of just utter meaninglessness, because God created me to be a husband and a father, and to be the priest of my home first. And then out of that, fruit would come ministry or business or work, whatever it might look like, comes out of the home, right? And without a home, you're not a man.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'll go as far as to say that, God is so perfect in his infinite wisdom that the family is foundational for a man. Careers come and go. You could be, when I feel like that when a man identifies himself with a career, that's bad. The reason why I say that is because you could be at a certain position now, and then tomorrow you could get fired.
Yeah.
What then?
Yeah.
But yet the family is an anchor for a sound man.
Yeah.
It is the foundation. And again, I think that God is so perfect in his wisdom when he tells us in scriptures, the man should be the husband of one wife.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And raise your family. You know what I'm saying? Now, how you go about raising your family, that's another story. But I think that being and having a family, having that foundation is very, very pivotal for a man.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you guys are saying. I also think that what they're doing is putting being industrious and having a family against each other.
Yeah.
But
Which the culture does all the time.
It does it all the time.
Especially
the
for
thing is
women.
that two things can be right at the same time.
Yeah.
You can be industrious, right? You can have your career, and you can have a successful family at the same time and still be happy. You don't have to separate both of them. The whole thing is the intention and the purpose behind what you're doing. What is the end goal?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think, it can be either or. I think it can be both, because even Proverbs 31, that the woman is an industrious woman.
Yeah.
At the same time, she's God-fearing.
Yeah.
At the same time, the kids rise up and praise her for all that she does. And, they honor the husband because of her character, her virtues as well. So I think, we don't need to pinpoint one or the other, because at the same time, I mean, even, I think, who was it? The Apostle Paul tells us, that he wants some men to remain single. Right,
Yeah.
there's a gift of singleness there.
Yeah.
So
You said it right. It's a gift, and
there's
I
a
ain't
gift.
got it.
Not yet. I ain't got that gift either. I need my wife.
I was
You know what
burning.
mean?
I was burning with passion. You
Yeah,
know
no,
what I'm
for
saying?
sure. Yeah, same here. So there is a gift of singleness that a man can, might not have a family, but in being industrious and being purposeful with what he's doing, he can find purpose. Obviously, doing it to the glory of God, because this is why we see a lot of the rates of, a lot of men offering themselves, is because they don't have no purpose. They don't feel that they're being productive in what they do. They don't have a family. They don't have a wife.
Yeah.
They don't have a good job, because also the type of job that you do kind of gives you that feeling of, okay, am I actually doing something here? Or am I just being like another monkey that I can just train and do this job automatically?
And also, like, women, they were created to be wives and mothers, and they are most satisfied in that role. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a job, you shouldn't have a career, but women especially were created to be the home maker, right? There's that is what God created them for, right? In a special way that men aren't built for that, right? And I think the culture has done a really good job of deceiving women that their fulfillment is in their career, their fulfillment is in sex, right?
Being independent.
Yeah, independent, whatever the hell that means, right? Like,
It's crazy, man.
they were made to be wives and mothers, and they are most happy when that is the center of their identity. Obviously, in Christ,
1000%.
right? Christ is the ultimate foundation, but out of that is mother and wife, right? And everything else is just icing on the cake, right? But the culture has twisted women into thinking that they need to be independent and they need to strive for this career. And we see, bro, lately it's been viral, like all these 40 and 50-year-old women, they don't have families, they don't have kids, they don't have a husband, and they're miserable.
Yes. Yeah.
Why do you think you're miserable? Because you are outside of your purpose.
They bought the lie.
You're gonna be alone. Nobody wants to be with a 50-year-old drunk lady that has no family. You know what I mean? Like,
Is that they bought the lie.
They bought the lie.
They bought the lie that they can be strong and independent and needing no man. But at the same time, men are also buying that lie as well, that they don't need no woman. But you need a woman to start a family. Yeah. You need a woman to, reproduce.
No, well, the culture has lied to men that they don't need a wife.
They don't need a wife.
That's
exactly.
like,
the Andrew Tates of the world.
Yeah, like I can have a girl, right? We can have girlfriends. We can have side chicks. We can have baby mamas. But I don't need a wife because I don't be tied down, right? There's the lies there because men are with women. They just don't commit to one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You want them fun and games, but you don't want the responsibility that comes with that.
Yeah.
And
it's a boy mentality. It's a boy mentality.
And it's just interesting too because with this topic, there's so many angles and so many gray areas that needs to be talked upon, which this could go for another podcast because this topic can go on for hours. Because then you're talking about how are you going to court a woman, right? How are you going to vet a woman? How do you vet a man? Is your father involved in your life, or are your older brothers involved in your life? If you're only raised by a single mother, what does that look like, right? The list can go on and on and on and on. But people online, they just want to make it just a cookie cutter, black and white thing. But in reality, you can't make a cookie cutter.
You can't do that.
You can't. There's no way.
But can we talk about how Candace Owens just like fact checked her with that study?
Oh, right.
That this girl like came with her like information and she researched.
She's definitely super informed.
And happiness found this in Sweden, and she's like, actually that was fraud, and that lady got kicked out of Harvard. Like, bro.
Yeah, that was a hard fact check.
Yo,
that was
cold, bro. That was cold.
Yeah, Candace Owens, man, she's definitely a smart woman, bro.
Yeah, she is, man.
Yeah.
And you can tell she's well-rounded. She's super studied. She's a Catholic now, though. I disagree with that. But anyways, listen.
Hey, nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect. We all got our, our faults.
She's a great example of the modern day woman who can be a wife, a mother, a person of faith.
Facts, yeah.
And a businesswoman.
And a badass.
Yeah,
she's a badass in her career, bro.
Yeah.
She's good at what she does.
I tell my daughters about Candace Owens a lot of the times, and my daughters, they listen to her from time to time. So, I'm grateful, that they have, women that they can look to, right? Besides, obviously, my wife. But obviously, you know how the culture is. They like to watch YouTube and everything like that. So I'm grateful that my daughters can watch people like Candace Owens.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Like I said, Candace Owens, man, she's great. She's actually good for the culture.
Yeah,
she's good for the culture. 100%. I think she does
we claim her.
A great job, 100%.
Candace, we love you. We claim you.
But obviously, man, if you like the clip, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Like I said, we got more content coming your way. Again, stay tuned. Deuces.
Peace.